Well, the Masters went down this past weekend.
Disgusting.
Obviously, we're not going to talk golf. Who would do that? But
We will on debate night.
I didn't have any disc golf takeaways from either watching the Masters.
I have. Here's my takeaway.
Ties in.
I got my almost probably like tri-weekly text from Brody during the Masters where he says something along the lines of like, disc golf could never replicate this. And I always think to myself, well, yeah, because they're not the same sport. Because one thing about golf that always like blows my mind, and this is something that disc golf just literally can't replicate, is the fact that you're hitting the ball so much further and with such a small ball in this giant landscape that's so much harder to control that even the tiniest putt can be missed and the littlest bounce can change everything. It's just a sport that has a lot more nuance, and that's something that disc golf just cannot replicate. And that is what makes where this golf event was so ridiculous, because you can't coast in. Disc golf can be like that a lot of times. And adding in a ton of OB is the best way to change that. But at the end of the day, and I would say wind is like the other one. But at the end of the day, you just can't replicate the randomness and just like the difficulty.
So many variables.
There's so many variables, and the difficulty of consistency, where you can have the best player in the world who is cruising dunk a wedge in the water to basically lose himself the tournament, so we thought, and then proceed to hook it around a tree like on another hole.
Spoilers.
And like hit it to like
I'm waiting for Jomez to come
5
out.
feet for eagle. Like, it's just, you can't replicate that. So like that's usually what I think about is I'm like, man, like, take away all the money and all the people there in the course, because like that's stuff that disc golf could do, right, in theory. But like you get down to the nitty gritty of the sport, because even like the broadcast is also amazing. Well, like the disc golf could do that if we had the resources. At the core of golf, though, and in the sport, it's like, okay, what is making this sport so exciting? And it's the just uncertainty of it all, the fact that everything is dangling on a ledge just waiting to fall and break. And disc golf, it's harder to do that. We have rollaways, and you can get a spit out. So there are certain things, but they don't happen on such a consistent basis. And so those are my thoughts. Smaller baskets, that might be something.
Well, I think just making the drive more difficult. We need to focus. Disc golf putting is always going to be easy, just by nature of it.
Doesn't have to be.
Well, the golf, you can make it difficult by the speed of the green, by the disc golf. At the end of the day,
but disc golf's not trying, though.
We're throwing a disc into a basket. Like, there is only airspace between us.
Well, yes, it will always be easier. However, you could make it a lot harder, like way harder.
But it's still, you're never going to make it where a 10-foot putt is impossible.
Well,
or very hard.
Disagree.
A 10-foot putt?
Well, yeah, if we're just aiming at a pole.
But the best in the world are going to, Paul, there's a video of Paul painting a pole from 30.
Well, let me be clear. The best in the world at golf are making that 10-foot putt under no pressure, like 95% of the time, probably, if they know the break.
But I'm saying, all of a sudden, the speed changes, the grain of the grass. Like, you can make
absolutely.
a 10-footer infinitely, like disc golf.
Yeah, I do think if they wanted more of the drama, though, they definitely could make putting harder.
The driving, I feel like, is where disc golf, because like golf, most of the drama comes around the green, more on approach shots, it feels.
Sure.
Whereas disc golf, I feel like most of the drama has to come off the tee.
Totally would agree with that.
And so I think that focusing more, forced carries, I think is one of Brody's best ideas, because that is something where like you have to carry it. Hole 18, Sprinkle Valley. Yeah. Perfect example, which obviously that was an approach shot, but just like forcing that, I think that's great. I did notice one of the things, because there's obviously downtime in golf, and yes, you can cut to a lot, but on the final day, you're focused on a few players, probably covering a similar amount of players as disc golf covers in a normal broadcast. And I was trying to think through, okay, when I'm consuming this, what is keeping the pace up, even if we're just watching Rory in the middle of the fairway? And it's just the amount of camera angles.
So many.
They can switch.
They just keep switching.
You're not sitting on a camera for more than like 3 to 5 seconds.
And the mics, too. You might catch a hot mic with the caddy. It's just boom,
and so that's
boom,
something
boom,
where Disc Golf Network has drastically increased their amount of cameras, and they're trending in the right direction.
They know just how to do it.
So Disc Golf Network, to me, it's a resource problem. It's not a we could do this right now problem. So I'm not worried about that. The other thing I noticed was, and this is something Disc Golf Network could do, you need the right moment. You can't do it every time. But I saw this posted on Twitter, and I actually noticed it when I was watching it live. When Rory tapped in his putt during the playoff, I didn't know it was this long, because it felt like a blink of an eye. But on Twitter, it was posted and it was this long. 7 minutes went by without a commentator saying a word. It was just a hot mic on Rory and letting the moment speak for itself. and it was pure cinema. Because obviously, this was a very unique situation in the sense of he's been trying to do this for 17 attempts. He's been trying to get his Grand Slam for 11 years. 10 years. This was his 11th attempt, I think. Whatever. So this was a situation where there was a lot more emotion than your typical golf winner or typical winner. But there is something where, like, there's still a lot of emotion when a player wins, and letting the moment speak for itself, no commentary, hot mic, letting the player react. I also thought it was important Rory had somewhere to go. It wasn't just stay on the green, we're going to do the trophy ceremony, everything right here. So he finished, he has his moment on the green, and then he's walking with the camera following him. I think both of those things are very easy to replicate in disc golf. But the big thing was just, in golf, they do so much of letting the moment talk for itself. They'll set up the shot, and then it's quiet. And it lets you feel the anticipation the player feels with hot mics and with so on and so forth. But the big one was the 7 minutes from he tapped the putt out until Jim Nantz said another word. There was like 6 minutes and 45 seconds or something like that, where it was just a hot mic of Rory's emotion coming out and him reacting to this. So am I calling for that on every tournament? No, but like when Nicklaus won his first tournament, the Open at Austin last year, there was probably, I would have to check, probably like a minute, maybe less. You know, when a player wins Worlds, just like having it where they can tell the story and the people at home can feel the story, I think that goes a long way. Versus it feeling like Ian and Philo have to immediately jump in and say something. And let's throw it back to Nate, who now has an interview with the guy who just won 20 seconds ago. Yeah. And it's like all rushed to where you're building anticipation to a climax. The climax happens, and instead of letting it tell the story and draw you in, we're trying to just close out the broadcast as fast as possible. And it's like, why? Let it breathe, let it happen, let the players celebrate, let the moment exist, so on and so forth. So that was a big thing for me that I noticed of something where disc golf could do this today. The other thing I think is like stuff disc golf is trending towards and is working towards. It's just going to take time and money, basically. The other thing is I've compared it before. I don't know how many times, but Ricky Wysocki to Rory, where Rory was in a major drought, a decade major drought.
True.
Ricky's coming up on a decade major drought.
That's a good omen.
So book it. Ricky Wysocki wins a major this year.
You got it, Hunt.
Book
Which
it.
one?
Probably, you know, how alike are they? Because if they're spitting image alike, USDGC is the monkey on Ricky's back. It ties the Masters, always at the same course.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
If they're spitting image alike, Ricky Wysocki wins USDGC. If they're just kind of alike, I don't hate Ricky Wysocki at Champions Cup coming up. They both win a major in April.
Love it.
But Ricky Wysocki's winning a major this year. So go ahead and book that. Come back to this
Calvin
once it
as
wins.
well?
No.
Okay.
Ricky and Rory. Rory. They're the ones that have always been tied together.
Okay.
Calvin, well, who's the best player in golf to not win a major yet?
At the moment, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to dig in a little bit. Like playing the best right now that hasn't won a major, it might be Ludwig Oberg. As far as a guy, I mean, he's way earlier in his rise.
So
than Calvin
closer
is.
than Calvin, where they've been up near the top.
Oh gosh, I might have to rack my brain.
I'll just Google best golfer without.
Oh,
a major.
Max Homa would have been that guy, but he just got into bad form. But when he was in his form, it would have been
Tommy Fleetwood.
He doesn't have a win.
Ooh, Tony Finau.
Hovland's a good one.
Victor Hovland?
Hovland's not a terrible pick. Yeah, because he's been around a little bit now.
Ricky Fowler.
No. He's too old.
Victor Hovland.
Victor Hovland is
or
actually...
Max Homa. Max Homa's that old? Holy cow.
Homa he had just finished 12th, but he was in bad form. Okay. Hovland is actually probably the correct
So when Victor
pick.
Hovland wins a major, Calvin Heimberg will win.
Okay. I'll keep
So
track
let's
of that
just
as
keep
well.
track
Or the
of
other
that.
way around.
Ooh.
Or the other way around.
Good point.
Could work the other way.
I got to keep track of all
Could work the other
these.
way. So Ricky Wysocki, though, will win a major this year.